And if you're new to this channel, subscribe, because lately there are a lot of people watching the videos on the channel, but they are not subscribed. So give a subscription to the channel. It does not cost you anything, and you would help me a lot. Heaven and Earth. The constant attack of monsters and beasts. The Shincho Earth, every 1,000 years, will fall into a catastrophe. At that moment, life is destined to turn to ashes. But with the victory of Tiangong Yonggu, you can get the power to stop the catastrophe, or that's what they say to the protagonist. But before continuing, question of today's video: how long have you been watching anime? Leave me your answer in the comment. In this story we will see the protagonist Chong Tion, which is a 20-year-old college student, and he is in the 2nd grade in animation technicature, and the protagonist hobby is the sinology. And you will be asking yourself, my little Padawan, what is the sinology? But do not worry, because I will answer you. Sinology is the study of the language, literature, and Chinese institutions. In that, the mother of the prota calls him to eat, but he was so concentrated that he had to go to his father to see him. And curiously, the father of the prota is a famous scholar of sinology. So the prota, since he was a child, under his influence, he began to like the sinology. Even so, they have different tastes in their ramifications. Hey son, what did you do in the afternoon? I didn't do anything. But the father ends up catching the prota, since the father tells him that he heard from an old man next door that the prota yesterday afternoon put a position of Ikwaro in the area, in which the prota was supposedly predicting the future. So the prota analyzed the feng shui of the neighbor. So the father tells the prota not to do those evil things. So he tells him that if he wants to study, he should study straight. To which the protard is like, ha, as you, I do not care. At that moment, the protard's father receives a call, since they are talking about the publication of the new book. So the protard's father says that these days he will go to the city of X to sign the contract for the new book. But while his father was talking on the phone, Protard took the opportunity to leave. The protard, angry in his room, is like, not only do you know that sinology, what's wrong with the chiromancy? The protard starts to investigate more about the sinology, so the internet searches what bookshop about sinology is in the capital, and curiously the prota sees that there is one very close to his house, so the prota goes to take a look. When he arrives he realizes that there is no one, but anyway, the prota who is looking at the books goes back to the book, and in that he grabs a book that caught his attention, but here the prota gets schizophrenic since he begins to hear some voices. Since basically the voices that the prota hears tell him, open the world. Knowledge is everywhere, you and I, fallen prince. And then the protagonist hears this, that he gets scared and runs away. The protagonist was taken by a great scare, but he could catch a good book. The protagonist was watching his book distracted, and in that he collided with a girl who was running in a hurry, but it turns out that this girl was being chased by these 3. The goons start hitting her, but the protagonist, when he sees one of the criminals, is like, isn't he Lei Chun from my school? The protagonist knows that that guy is a bully from his school that everyone fears, so the prota thinks that he can't make him angry. But to make things worse for the prota, his book fell very close to where they are, and curiously this guy found the prota's book, and in that he also saw the prota, so he asks him if he is not the guy who does the guessing, in that he asks the prota if that is his book. But this guy was going to take the prota's book, since he tells him that he is going to use it as toilet paper, but the prota at that moment stops him, since the prota argues that he just bought it. But here the guy tells the prota that every day he has been with strange thing. But here the prota gets angry and tells him that the sinology is useful, and tells him that the sinology are not strange things, and it is something that was inherited from ancient times. So the prota, after saying that, he kicks him, takes his book and runs away. However, the prota began to chase him. The prota was able to dig and recover his book, or that is what he believed, since he was found by this guy who was going to hit him. But when he was going to hit him, the prota dodged the attack, and unintentionally the prota also lowered his pants. And the people around him started taking pictures and everything. So the prota took advantage of this moment to escape again. The prota escapes and says that he can finally go home to read the book. But in that he begins to hear a strange sound. But not only that, since at that moment a thing similar to a light ball appears, and the prota wonders what is happening. Here too, the guy from before appears with someone else, and tells him that this is the seal that opened. This guy tells the prota that he has long obtained that supernatural power, so he says that he is different from everyone else. Here the guy immobilized the prota and began to beat him. And this guy orders Spadon to kill the prota. So the prota was going to give him the final blow, but he is like, no, I don't want to die. The prota does not know where he is and wonders if he really died. And as he sees a large door, he wonders if this is the door to hell. And the protag, when he touches the door, hears a voice that says, you just don't want to die. That for me would be too easy. At that moment a strong energy begins to emanate, and this type of albino appears. And Spade was happy to fight, So he asks the albino what rank he is, but the albino is like, "My rank? An ant like you has no right to know, since I don't even have to use my strength." And the albino was right, since with a single finger he stopped Spade's attacks. And not only that, since the albino cured the wounds of the protag, and the albino was so much loved that he uses a power, courtesy in Kidama, and thus ends winning the battle. The albino tells the protag that with his little spiritual power he was able to invoke him. The albino tells the protag that with his little spiritual power he was able to invoke him, so he says that this is really fun. And the prota is like, "Spiritual power invoked?" The protos was dreaming about everything that happened, and in that his dream got a little weird. "Oh WTF, but I just dreamed." The protos gets up scared, but in that he sees that next to him is the albino boy. So similar scream that hits the protos. The sword must be someone very powerful, but in that the albino tells him, "I just discovered that you are complete garbage, you don't even have spiritual power to give me, I lost part of my memory, surely it is because I was invoked by an idiot like you." And the protagonist asks what is the spiritual power. Returning to the subject, the protagonist, there is something that the albino boy wants to ask him, but at that moment, the protagonist's mother calls him and tells him that a pretty girl is looking for him, and the protagonist is like, "Pretty girl, but if I don't even put it in Remoho." This girl appears with the protag, and she is a classmate of his school, whose last name is Chu. Chu tells the protagonist that the teacher asked him to bring him a class material, but there is something else that this girl wanted to talk to the protag, but she says she wants to talk to him alone outside. So the protag is like, "Me?" And since his mother realizes that his son is a level 5 virgin, he makes them go outside to talk. The protag asks the purple pelly if they know each other, but in that the purple pelly snaps her fingers and this guy appears. And here, this other girl also appears. And they tell the prota that they actually come to do business with him. The prota doesn't understand what's going on, but the black-haired girl asks him if he didn't hear well. The black-haired girl asks the prota if yesterday he didn't summon a strange person. So the black-haired girl tells him that since he doesn't like him, what if they do a business? So the black-haired girl tells the prota to give him the albino. And the prota is like, "How do you know?" And the black-haired girl tells him that it doesn't matter how he knows, since it tells him that the important thing is that if he wants to or not to do business. But in that the albino appears and tells the purple movie that why don't you ask him in person? And the albino boy who approaches the purple movie and says, "This beautiful lady, you chase me with so much eagerness, it really moves me, I don't know if tonight you have time to invite you to." And the damn albino's lip was working since the purple movie was inside like, "My god, I can't reject him." But this guy gets involved in that, and he tells him not to do anything to the lady, because if he doesn't, he won't contain himself. But the albino tells him that he really wants to see how he doesn't contain himself. But anyway, the prota in the end decides that he's not going to sell the albino. And in the eyes of the purple movie, the prota is a poor boy. But the prota tells him that he has his courage, and that since the albino saved his life, he's not going to sell him at all. So the prota tells the purple movie to forget him. So the prota proceeds to go. The prota, talking to the albino, asks him if he is his weapon, and the albino says that although he does not want to admit it, that he is. The albino also tells the protos that if he wants to know the origin of the weapons, the first thing he has to understand is that between heaven and earth there is a deposit of weapons, and the weapons kept differ by ranks, so each person chosen can summon a weapon that belongs to him randomly, and in theory the Tion rank weapons are the most powerful, but it is said that above Tion there is an even higher rank, which is the god rank, to which the albino is in plan. I with an elegant look. "I know everything. Surely I must be a godlike weapon, but I was summoned by a trash like you." And not only this, because this caused the albino to lose part of his memory, which also caused him to lose great power. The people who can summon weapons from the deposit are dominated by the bearer of the Yuan Yu, and basically they are told to the people who are born with spiritual power. In the Chu family of the purple film, throughout history they have been born as bearers. So basically in their family there is more possibility that bearers appear, possibility of having carriers. So she wonders how a silly and poor person like the brother can have spiritual power, so it seems very strange to her, since the battles between carriers are extremely dangerous, so if you neglect you can die. So the purple pelly, since she awakened the power of the carrier, trained every day, and all to obtain the victory of the Tiangon Jiangwu. But you will wonder what is the Tiangon Jiangwu, and that is when the carriers using their own weapons, they fight each other in a limited time, and the final winner will obtain the honor granted by the gods, and they can also fulfill a wish without limitations. So the albino asks the prota if he does not want to try, since he tells him that maybe he can win. The prota, after hearing that there was a wish without limitations, thinks that he is going to try, but the purple pelly also wants to win the tournament, and the purple pelly thinks that the more power she gets the better, so she says that the mysterious weapon that the prota has must obtain it at all costs. so as the Prota did not want to go for the good, he says that he will go for the bad ones. So from that day misfortunes began to happen to the Prota, since the purple film spread. Rumors of the Prota of all kinds. The Prota meets the purple film and she asks him if he has already decided to give up his weapon. The Prota tells him that his feelings of wanting him to sell the weapon were clear, but he tells him that his answer will not change, since he tells him that the albino is an important companion for him, so he says that he won't leave him. And not only that, since the protagonist tells him that he will participate in the Tiangong Jiangwu, so he says that they will meet in the battlefield. But the purple Peli tells him that this is not a children's game, and that the tournament will not be easy to deal with for a rookie like him. So he tells him that he still has time to retreat, so he tells the protagonist to sell his weapon and go live his life peacefully. So the purple Peli says that this is doing it for the good of the protagonist. But I don't know what the protagonist. I remember when his father told him that studying that would not turn him into anything, and that he must learn the straight and that everything is for his own good. And the protagonist is tired of everyone telling him that. So he's like, what right do you have to make my decision? Besides, the protagonist tells him that if she has so much confidence, then why give a high price to buy weapons summoned by a novice? So the protagonist tells him, I see you're not what you pretend to be, little lady fan. But this made the purple movie angry, so he summoned his weapons to fight, so the albino is also going to have to fight. So the battle begins, and the albino is being made a 2v1, and the protagonist thought that the two with whom the albino is fighting were so difficult to deal with. But the albino tells him that obviously, that they are of the Tian rank, and they are two. However, the albino holds on as a champion. But in that middle of the fight, this mysterious guy appears. This guy tells them that they are fighting in broad daylight. So he is in plan. What if they let the Tian Shuntang get into this? And the albino, when he sees them, says that the rats finally showed up. And yes, this boy was not alone, since he came accompanied by another albino. But the purple-haired one already knew this guy named Han, so he tells him that he is constantly bothering her. So he asks Han if he wants to do this for the bad guy, but Han says that she still does not give them the face. And Han tells him that even if the first place can pass him by, he is afraid that he will not be able to do it. Han also tells the Prota that his weapon does not seem to be a Tian rank, since he tells him that his weapon doesn't really stand out at all, but the other guy tells Han not to provoke the others. But the Prota says that the albino is really strong, and the Prota is like, I think you must have several Rangoshan weapons, right? And this guy says that his weapon is one of the famous Ao Weshi swords, so in that he invokes his weapon, to which this guy tells the Prota that if he doesn't meddle, he will leave him alone for today. But the Prota, after hearing this, tells this guy that he just made 3 mistakes that will cost him his life, and he says that the first mistake is that she is not as beautiful as Miss Chu. So the protagonist says that since ancient times heroes have disliked beauty, so he tells that guy that if he compares himself to Miss Chu, anyone would choose Miss Chu. The second mistake he made is that he said that if the protagonist does not meddle, he would leave him for today. So the protagonist says that this means that he does not plan to take him as a companion, but this guy says that after the Tiangong Gu starts they must fight to the death. So he tells the Prota that he can't get so far with a Rangadi weapon, and the Prota is like, but the Lady Chu from the beginning just wanted to buy my weapon and she wanted me to withdraw from the fight. And when the Prota is about to tell the guy the third mistake, that the albino got tired of waiting, so the albino is like, why do you talk so much nonsense? Just make them kill them. So at that moment the albino is about to attack, but at that moment this girl appeared to deflect the attack of the albino. So at that moment the battle starts again. So the weapons of the purple skin are going to fight this guy. Meanwhile, the albino is fighting with this girl, and the albino realizes that this girl is very fast. So the albino says that apparently if he catches her, he must kill her directly, and that the battle continues, and the girl, when fighting the albino, wonders if she really is of rank D, and the protagonist, analyzing the battle, knows that it will not be good to prolong it, and the protagonist throws this data to Chu. So Chu orders his weapons to finish fast. So that's how they're going to do it, since this guy was given the power. The skill they are going to use is a powerful Tian Rand skill. So this guy tells him that it will be better if he remembers the last name Chong, since he tells him that he will avenge and make him pay for this. So at that moment, these two withdraw after this battle, as the Prota and the purple Peli become allies, since the purple Peli tells him that for the moment she will be in the same battle line with the Prota. So he tells the Prota to thank him. Meanwhile, those who escaped were to inform everything that happened to the first. So the first who is scolding them, since he says that all day he only thinks about causing problems. But this guy also wants to take responsibility for the situation, since he tells the first that he can't stop Aotian. But this boy also says that it's his fault, and all for not defeating that strange weapon, since he says that that weapon only had the power of rank D, and yet it was difficult to deal with, and this guy agrees. Since the fifth said that apparently that weapon has something special, but the first one tells them that for that reason what Oation has done is undesirable, and then the first one tells him that he made Chu angry, and that to finish off he got another enemy. So the first one tells them that unfortunately now that mysterious weapon will also join Chu, and it turns out that Chu has rejected all the invitations from the first place, so this girl says that one day she has to make her suffer. But here they also start talking about the Prota, since this guy says that the character of the Prota is strange, and that it is difficult to guess, but that he heard that his weapon was invoked in sudden death. But well, I'm going to explain what is the sudden death invocation. Since the carriers have two ways of invoking weapons, the first is what the Prota experienced. The sudden death, since when the carriers are in danger of life or death, they have an opportunity to summon a weapon from the weapon warehouse, and the albino is like, all this incredible weapon, you have to thank me for saving your life. But the other carriers use another way to summon weapons, which is through an official summon. And as the weapons that the purple Peli summoned are husbands. That is why he got both. And that is why having these two, the purple Peli cannot get another weapon of the same class, so since purple hair already has a Tiong ranked weapon, she can't have another now. The protagonist wants to know who is the Tian Shuntang that just crossed paths well. The Tian Shuntang has existed for centuries, and this is an organization made up of weapons, and what they want to do there is gather all the weapons that have been forged by Uyezi. That is their main objective, but the first one tells them that Chu's weapons are also part of their origin, so he says that they should not fight against them. And well, the purple hair is the daughter of businessman Chu, and at only 16 years old, he took control of the family's wealth. After awakening his power as a bearer, Chu summoned two weapons of the Tian range, so they say that he is almost invincible. So they say that he is not an opponent that can be underestimated. And this girl is like, that stupid and arrogant woman does not know the effort that the first place does. They only think of obtaining the victory of the Tian Gonyang Wu by themselves. Meanwhile, the purple movie tells the Prota that they are allies, and the Prota was also thinking about something like that, since the Prota thinks that it would benefit them to ally. And the purple movie tells the Prota that he has gotten involved in affairs of the Tian Suntan. So surely in that situation the Prota will surely have to deal battles against them. So maybe he is also in the look. So the purple movie says that if they are together, they can help each other, and the Prota still did not understand how dangerous the situation is. And the Prota asks if it is not too exaggerated to talk about death, but the purple skin tells him that it is not exaggerated since they are battles between carriers, and the protag still did not understand what he meant, so in that the purple skin asks the protag if he knows what happened to the guy he defeated in the square, and the protag tells him that he disappeared directly, but that was only the weapon, so the protag start to reflect and asks what happened to the carrier. Here the albino throws the data that after the weapon is destroyed, the soul that is linked to the teacher will naturally not escape the fate of dying, so the villain is like, idiot, you can't even understand that. That guy died, so the protagonist, when he hears this, is shocked. What will happen to the protagonist? We will know that on another occasion since we are running out of time, so I'm going to leave part 1 of this summary here. Don't forget to leave your like and a comment if you want me to bring part 2, and remember that you don't need to be an expert to be a great artist, so see you in the next program with many more Art Attack.